Hey people, it's Kola talking. So this is another reading of John Milton's Paradise Lost. So here we go. Eternity so spent in worship paid, to whom we hate, let us not then pursue, by force impossible by leave obtained. Unacceptable though in heaven our state, of splendid vassalage, but rather seek our own good from ourselves and from our own, live to ourselves though in this vast recess. Free and to none accountable, preferring hard liberty before the easy yoke of servile pomp. Our greatness will appear then most conspicuous when great things of small, useful of hurtful, prosperous of adverse, we can create and in what place soe'er, thrive under evil and work ease out of pain. Through labor and endurance this deep world of darkness do we dread, how oft amidst thick clouds and darked off heaven, all ruling sire, choose to reside his glory unobscured, and with the majesty of darkness round, covers his throne, from whence deep thunders roar, mustering their rage, and heaven resembles hell. As he our darkness cannot we his light imitate when we please. This desert soil wants not our children lustre, gems and gold, nor want we skill or art from whence to raise magnificence, and what can heaven show more? Our torments also may in length of time become our elements. These piercing fires, as soft as now severe, our temper changed into their temper, which must needs remove the sensible of pain. All things invite to peaceful counsels and the settled state of order, how in safety best we may compose our present evils, with regard of what we are and where, dismissing quite all thoughts of war. Yet have what I advise. He scarce had finished, when such murmur filled the assembly, as when hollow rocks retain the sound of blustering winds, which all night long had roused the sea. Now with hoarse cadence lull seafaring men o'er wretched, whose bark, o'erwatched whose bark by chance, or pinnacle anchors in a craggy bay. After the tempest such applause was heard, as Mammon ended and his sentence pleased, advising peace for such another field. They dreaded worse than hell, so much the fear of thunder and the sword of Michael roared still within them, and no less desire to found this never empire, which might rise by policy and long process of time, in emulation opposite to heaven, which when Beelzebub perceived, than whom Satan except none higher sat, with grave except aspect he rose, and in his rising seemed a pillar of state, deep on his front engraven deliberation sat and public care, and princely counsel in his face yet shone. Majestic though in ruin, sage he stood, with Atlantean shoulders fit to bear the weight of mightiest monarchies. His look drew audience and attention still as night, or summer's noontide air. While thus he spake, thrones and imperial powers, offspring of heaven, ethereal virtues, or these titles now, must we renounce and changing style be called princes of hell. For so the popular vote inclines here to continue and build up here a growing empire, doubtless, while we dream, and know not that the King of Heaven hath doomed this place our dungeon, not our safe retreat, beyond his potent arm to live exempt from heaven's and highest jurisdiction in new league, banded against his throne, but to remain in strictest bondage, though thus far removed, under the inevitable curb, reserved his captive multitude, for he, be sure, in height for death still first, and last will reign. So king and of his kingdom lose no part, by our revolt but o'er hell extend his empire, and with iron scepter rule us here as with his golden, those in heaven. What sit we then projecting peace and war? War hath determined us and foiled with loss irreparable, terms of peace yet none, vouchsafed or sought. For what peace will be given to us enslaved, but custody severe, and stripes and arbitrary punishment inflicted? And what peace can we return, but to our power hostility and hate, untamed reluctance and revenge though slow, yet ever plotting how the conqueror least may reap his conquest, and may least rejoice in doing what we most in suffering feel. Nor will occasion want, nor shall we need, with dangerous expedition to invade heaven, whose high walls fear no assault or siege, or ambush from the deep. What if we find some easier enterprise? There is a place, if ancient and prophetic fame in heaven or not, another world, the happy seat some new race call man, about this time to be created like to us, though less in power and excellence, but favoured more of him who rules above, so was his will, pronounced among the gods and by an oath, and shook heaven's whole circumference confirmed. Thither let us bend all our thoughts, to learn what creature they inhabit of what mould, or substance how endured, and what their power, and where their weakness how attempted best, by force or subtlety, though heaven be shut, and heaven's high arbitrator sits secure. In his own strength this place may lie exposed, the utmost border of his kingdom left to their defence who hold it. Here perhaps some advantageous act may be achieved, my sudden onset either with hellfire, to waste his whole creation, or possess all as our own, and drive as we are driven, the puny habits, or if not drive, seduce them to our party, that their God may prove their foe, and with repenting hand abolish his own works. This would surpass common revenge, and interrupt his joy. In our confusion and our joy upraise, in his disturbance when his darling sons hurled headlong to partake of us, shall curse their frail original and faded bliss, faded so soon. Advise if this be worth attempting, or to sit in darkness here, hatching vain empires. Thus Beelzebub pleaded his devilish counsel, first devised by Satan, and in part proposed, for whence, but from the awful of all ill could spring so deep a malice, to confound the race of mankind in one root, and earth of hell, to mingle and involve, done all to spite the great Creator. But this spite still serves his glory to augment. The bold design pleased highly those infernal states, and joy sparkled in all their eyes with full assent. They vote, whereat his speech he first renews. Well have ye judged, well ended long debate, synod of gods, and like that to what ye are. Great things resolve, from which the lowest deep will once more lift us up, in spite of fate. Near our ancient seat, perhaps in view of those bright confines, whence with neighbouring arms and opportune excursion we may chance, re-enter heaven, or else in subwile zone, dwell not unvisited of heaven's fair light, secure, and at the brightening orient beam, purge off this gloom, the soft delicious air, to heal the scar of these corrosive fires, shall breathe her balm. But first whom shall we send in search of this new world? Whom shall we find sufficient? Who shall tempt with wandering feet the dark unbottomed infinite abyss, and through the palpable obscure find out his uncouth way, or spread his airy flight, upborne in indefatigable wings, over the vast abrupt ere we arrive. The happy isle, what strength, what art can then suffice, or what invasion bear him safe through the strict centuries and stations thick of angel watching sound? Here he had need all circumspection, and we now no less choice in our suffrage, for on whom we send the weight of all, and our last hope relies. This said, he sat, and our expectation held, his look suspense, awaiting who appears to second or oppose or undertake the perilous attempt. But all sat mute, pondering the danger with deep thoughts, and each in other's countenance read his own dismay. Astonished, none among the choice and prime of those heaven-warring champions could be found, so hardy as to proffer or accept alone the dreadful voyage till the last Satan, whom now transcendental glory raised above his fellows, with monarchical pride, conscious of highest worth, unmoved forspake of progeny of heaven, imperial thrones, with reason have deep silence and demure, seized us, though undismayed, long is the way and hard. Then out of hell leads up to light, our prison strong, this huge convex of fire, outrageous to devour, immures us round. Ninefold, and gates of burning adamant, barred over us prohibit all egress. These past, if any pass, the void profound of unessential night receives him next, wide gaping, and with utter loss of being threatens him, plunged in that abortive gulf, if fancy escaped into whatever world or unknown region. What remains him less than unknown dangers and as hard escape? But I should ill become this throne, O peers, and this imperial sovereignty adorned with splendor, armed with power, if aught proposed and judged a public moment in the shade of difficulty or danger could deter me from attempting, Wherefore do I assume these royalties and not refuse to reign, refusing to accept as great a share of hazard as of honor, due alike to him who reigns, and so much to him due of hazard more, as he above the rest high honored sits. Go therefore, mighty powers, terror of heaven, though fallen intended home. Whilst here shall be a home, what may be ease the present misery, and render hell more tolerable. If there be cure or charm to respite or deceive or slack the pain of this ill mansion, intermit no watch against their wakeful foe, while I abroad, who all the costs of dark destruction seek, deliverance for us all, this enterprise none shall partake with me. For saying rose the monarch and prevented all reply, prudent lest from his resolution raised, others among the chief might offer now, certain to be refused what erst they feared. And so refused might in opinion stand, his rivals winning cheap the high repute, which he through hazard huge must earn. But they dreaded not more the adventure than his voice forbidding, and at once with him they rose. Their rising all at once was at the sound of thunder heard remote. Towards him they bent with awful reverence prone, and as a god, extol him equal to the highest in heaven. Nor failed they to express how much they praised, that for the general safety he despised his own, for neither do the spirits damned lose all their virtue, lest bad men should boast their specious deeds on earth which glory excites, or close ambition varnished o'er with zeal. First they, their doubtful consultations dark, ended rejoicing in their matchless chief, as when from mountain tops the dusky clouds ascending, while the north wind sleeps overspread, and heaven's cheerful face, the lowering element, scowls o'er the darkened landscape snow or shore. If chance the radiant sun with farewell sweet extends his evening beam, the fields revive. The birds their notes renew, and bleating herds attest their joy, that hill and valley rings. O shame to men, devil with devil damned, firm concord holds, men only disagree, of creatures rational though under hope, of heavenly grace and God proclaiming peace, yet live in hatred, enmity, and strife, among themselves and levy cruel wars, wasting the earth each to destroy, as if, which might induce us to accord, man had not hellish foes enow besides, that day and night for his destruction wait. The Stygian council first dissolved, and forth in order came the grand infernal peers, midst came their mighty paramount, and seemed alone the antagonist of heaven, no less than heaven and hell's dread emperor with pomp supreme, and godlike imitated state, him round a globe of fiery Sephirim enclosed, with bright emblazonry and horrent arms. Then of their session ended they bid cry, with trumpets regal sound the great result. Towards the four wind four great speedy cherubim put to their mouths the sounding alchemy. By herald's voice explained the hollow abyss, heard far and wide, and all the host of hell, with deafening shout, returned them loud acclaim. Thence more at ease their mind and somewhat raised, by false presumptuous hope, the ranged powers disband and wandering, each his several way pursues his inclination or sad choice, leads him perplexed where he may likeliest find truce to his restless thoughts, and entertain the irksome hours till his great chief return, part on the plain or in the air sublime, upon the wing or in swift race contend, as at the Olympian games or Pythian fields, part curb their fiery steed or shun the goal, with rapid wheels or fronted brigades form, as when to warn proud cities war appears, waged in the troubled sky, and armies rush to battle in the clouds before each van prick forth the airy knights, and couch their spears, till thickest legions close, and with feats of arms from either end of heaven the walking burns. Others with vast Typhoon rage, more fell, rend up both rocks and hills, and ride the air in whirlwind. Hell scarce holds the wild abroad, as when Alcides from Ocelia crowned, with conquest felt the envenomed road, and tore through pain up by the roots, Thessalian pines, and leeches from the top of Huerta through into the Euboic sea. Others more mild retreated in a silent valley sing, with notes angelical to many a harp, their own heroic deeds and hapless fall by doom of battle, and complain that fate Free virtue should enthrall to force or chance. Their song was partial, but the harmony, what could it less when spirits immortal sing? Suspended hell and took with ravishment the thronging audience. In discourse more sweet, for eloquence the soul, song charms the sense. Others apart sat on a hill retired. In thoughts more elevate and reasoned high, of providence, for knowledge, will, and fate. Fixed fate, free will, for knowledge absolute, and found no end in wandering mazes lost. Of good and evil much they argued then, of happiness and final misery. Passion and apathy and glory and shame, vain wisdom all and false philosophy. Yet where pleasing sorcery could charm pain for a while, or anguish and excite, fallacious hope or arm the obscured breast, with stubborn patience as with triple steel, another part in squadrons, in gross band, or bold adventure to discover wide that dismal world, if any climb, perhaps, might yield them easier habitation, bend forth ways their flying march along the blanks. Of 4 infernal rivers that disgorge into the burning lake their baleful streams, abhorred Styx, the flood of deadly hate, sad Acheron of sorrow black and deep, Cocytus named of lamentation loud, heard on the rueful stream, fierce Phlegethon, whose waves of torrent fire inflame with rage, far off from these a slow and silent stream. Let the river of oblivion rolls, her watery labyrinth whereof who drinks, forthwith his former state and being forgets both joy and grief, pleasure and pain. Beyond this flood a frozen continent lies dark and wild, beat with perpetual storms, of whirlwind and dire hail, which on firm land falls not, but gathers heap and ruin seams of ancient pile, or else deep snow and ice. A gulf profound as that Serbonian bog, betwixt Damietta and Mount Cassius old, where armies whole have sunk, the parching air burns frore, and cold performs the effect of fire. Thither by harpy-footed furies hailed, as certain revolution all the damned are brought, and feel by turns the bitter change. Of fierce extremes by change more fierce, for beds of raging fire to starve in ice, their soft ethereal warmth, and there to pine, immovable, infixed, and frozen round. Periods of time, thence hurried back to fire, they ferry over this Lethean sound, both to and fro, their sorrow to augment, and wish and struggle as they pass to reach the tempting stream with one small drop to lose, in sweet forgetfulness all pain and woe. All in one moment and so near the brink, but fate withstands, and to oppose the attempt, Medusa with Gorgonian terror guards the fords, and of itself the water flies. All taste of living white, as once it fled. The lip of Tantalus, first roving on in confused march forlorn, the adventurous bands, with shuddering horror pale and eyes aghast, viewed first the lamentable lot, and found no rest, though many a dark and dreary vale. They passed in many a region dolorous, o'er many a frozen, many a fiery Alp. Rocks, caves, lakes, fens, bogs, dens, and shades of death, a universe of death, which God by curse created evil for evil only good. Where all life dies, death lives, and nature breeds, perverse or monstrous, or prodigious things, abominable, unutterable, and worse than fables yet have feigned or fear conceived, gorgons and hydras and chimeras dire. Meanwhile the adversary of God and man, Satan with thoughts inflamed of highest design, puts on swift wings and towards the gates of hell explores his solitary flight. Sometimes he scours the right-hand coast, sometimes the left, how shaves of level wing the deep then soars, up to the fiery concave towering high, as when far off at sea a fleet described hangs in the clouds by equinoctial winds. I hope you've enjoyed that today. So this is another reading by Kola of John Milton's Paradise Lost. Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe, and tune in for the next one. Peace.